disruption of the British Empire in the 1770s, the diplomatic origins of the Great War, and its aftermath, Versailles, which carried away 5 empires: the Austro-Hungarian, German, Italian, Japanese, and the Ottoman, and an entire generation of young men. The personal summitry between the night Stalin and Churchill divided Europe, which foreshadowed the coming of the Cold War, George W. Bush and the Iraq War, which marked the triumph of the militarization of American diplomacy and an era of endless wars, and finally, diplomacy in the age of globalization, which opened up new pathways for the conduct of diplomacy while facilitating the involvement of new participants against the backdrop of America's global retreat and the recrudescence of great power competition. After factoring out the obvious differences, such as the various systems of government that each age of diplomacy represented, and the communications revolution that was profoundly important, especially for modern summitry, what each of these case studies has in common is the universal role of negotiations. In the chapters that follow, the diplomat qua negotiator always attempts to achieve an agreement which is somewhat better than the realities of his fundamental position would justify, and which is, in any case, not worse than his fundamental position requires. This is as true in relations between nation-states as in relations between organizations and individuals. Not all succeeded, of course, some more than others. Meanwhile, each had to make sure of his constituency while making equally sure that his opposite number had control of his. Among the cases under consideration, high marks go to the colonial diplomats of the American Revolution, whose realism compelled them to think and act in terms of power, eschewing ideology and moral principles. There was, in fact, precious little room to maneuver, and the fear of failure was a constant companion. Benjamin Franklin's timely warning that the colonies either could hang together or one at a time ultimately translated itself into the brilliant outcome achieved by the revolutionary diplomats who seldom failed to take advantage of Europe's distresses. And this was all done at a time when it could take a month or more for a letter to travel from Philadelphia to Paris. And like the other diplomatic episodes found in this volume, the historical repercussions could be profound. The disruption of the British Empire in the 1770s, for example, was one of the fateful events of modern history. Had British statesmanship then been capable of the levels of wisdom it attained in the next century, a British-American or American-British Commonwealth of Nations might have guided the world along paths of peaceful development with little to fear from Imperial Germany, Nazi Germany, or Communist Russia. Such a might have been is the stuff of virtual history and an endless, fascinating subject of counterfactuals. Similarly, the best statecraft of Bismarck's classic diplomacy in the run-up to the 20th century could do nothing to avoid the drift towards the abyss of war. Consequently, as historian Arnold Toynbee so aptly writes, Western civilization was about to enter a time of troubles, comparable to the self-destructive rage that afflicted the city-states of ancient Greece. Or, to quote Henry Kissinger, wearing his diplomatic historian's hat, since nothing about the First World War had gone as planned, it was inevitable that the quest for peace would prove as futile as the expectations with which nations had launched themselves into the catastrophe.